Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Beyond Blood Sugar podcast. First and foremost, let me apologize for my overly nasal voice. I like to record these, the day before that I release them, just because I like to talk about, what's currently on my heart and in my head. And last week I went to a conference and it was an amazing conference, and I came home and I got sick. Um, and the last couple of days, it's been in like 60s and 70s, so everything's blooming, the hay is growing, and I live on like 10 acres of hay, literally, but I'm very allergic to it. So every year my body goes through this like retraining process of how to survive in hay again. So I'm getting double whammied right now, but I still wanted to record this to be released tomorrow. So uh, anyway, today we're kicking off a very special three-part series, one that's especially important for those of you who feel like your body has changed and nothing you try seems to kind of move the needle anymore. Maybe you're moving your body, you're being intentional about your health, but everything is just inconsistent, right? Um, Let me tell you, if that's where you're at right now, you're not imagining things, because when you hit middle life, which most of my audience is, I am, your body's different. And the old advice, the one size fits all formulas, the generalized nutrition tips, the stress management hacks, they're not built for what you're actually facing, what we're actually facing. And that's what this series is here to kind of explore a little bit. So, over the next few episodes, I'm walking you through the real root causes that shift how your metabolism works in middle life. And when I say middle life, I'm not just talking about, oh, you're 50 and you're over the hill. And, like that's what people think of when they think of middle life. To me, middle life is like, it's this big range, it's like the bulk of your life, late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and whatever. It's the middle portion, right? It's not just this tiny, narrow thing. Um, but in that part of your life, there's all these like hidden blocks that just get overlooked. And I don't want to talk about it. And we're not talking about surface level stuff. We're going to go underneath the systems to the systems themselves. We'll talk about the difference between a body that's simply out of balance and one that's resisting change because it's been stressed, overloaded, or ignored for too long. And if any part of you has ever wondered, why isn't this working anymore? Or why does my body feel like it's not responding the way that it used to? The series is definitely for you. Okay. So we're starting today with one of the most misunderstood ideas in metabolic health: the difference between symptom management and true metabolic repair, and why middle life women need a completely different map than the one that you've been handed. So here's the first thing that I want to clear up. Most middle life women aren't struggling because they lack discipline or willpower. They're struggling because no one ever taught them how metabolic repair actually works. What we've been taught, especially those of us who came of age in the calorie counting, cardio obsessed, fat is bad era, is that weight, energy, and even blood sugar are just a matter of eating less and moving more. That if things aren't working, you probably just need to tighten up your routine a little bit, okay? Right? That's what we grew up with. But here's what that mindset misses entirely. Your metabolism is not a math equation. It's a complex adaptive system. It responds to inputs, it responds to stress, hormones, inflammation, nutrient status, and dozens of subtle cues that shift throughout your life, especially in this middle part of life. Because here's the part that no one's saying out loud. By the time you're in your late 30s and 40s and 50s, your body has already been compensating for a very long time. It's been managing stress, fluctuating hormones, blood sugar swings, insulin swings, under recovery, overexertion, and probably years of dieting or food confusion, even if you've been healthy by most standards, right? So when things stop working, it's not random. It's not that your body is no longer in a place where it can um, respond the way that it used to. It's not just about what you're doing now. It's about what your body has been through and whether the systems that regulate energy, hunger, fat storage, insulin response are actually online or stuck in a kind of metabolic fog, which I think most of us are used to, right? That brain fog, that just overall disruption. That's the difference between symptom management and repair. Symptom management is chasing the next fix. Repair means getting curious about the signals underneath. And in this season of life, repair becomes non-negotiable. So when we're talking about your metabolism adapting, what exactly is it adapting to? That's where things get interesting and personal because your body doesn't adapt in a vacuum. It adapts to stress, to signals, to history. And that brings us to the part that most people never really hear about, even if you've been on a health journey for years, which a lot of us have. And that's this, your metabolism remembers. Just like a woman, right? We remember everything. Everything. But your metabolism remembers. Um, it remembers all the crash diets or all the skipped meals. It remembers the late nights, the high stress, the undernourishment, even when you got a plate full of food right in front of you. Your body's not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to protect you. When it senses a threat, whether that's from restriction or inflammation, lack of recovery, or just years of chaos and abuse, it adapts by slowing down. It holds on to fat. It becomes more insulin resistant. It dials down thyroid output, stress resilience, and even muscle repair. Why? Because in that state, your body doesn't think it's time to thrive. It thinks it's time to survive. And there's a big difference. And the frustrating part is that these shifts don't show up in your labs generally, especially in the early stages. You can have, quote, normal blood sugar, quote, normal thyroid, normal everything, right? And still feel off and feel stuck. Because what's happening is functional, not pathological, at least not yet. Your body hasn't broken, it's just adapted. But the longer it stays in that state, the harder it is to climb out of it. So the real question isn't what should I eat now? It's what signals is my body responding to now? Because if your metabolism is protecting you from what it thinks is danger, you don't just need more rules, you need to shift the environment your body thinks it's living in. And that's where the conversation starts to change. Okay. So let's talk about those signals that your body is responding to. Because if your metabolism is slowing down, clinging to fat, getting more insulin resistant, again, it's not random, it's reacting to the inputs it's been given, and not just from food. It's reacting to stress, to sleep, to inflammation, to movement or lack thereof, to hormonal shifts that no one's explained, to gut issues that keep triggering your immune system, to blood sugar swings. And most importantly, it's responding to the patterns um, of all of these things over time. Okay. That's why one-off changes rarely create lasting results. You can clean up your eating, get on the treadmill, take a supplement, and still not feel like you're moving the needle because the pattern hasn't shifted. The message your body is hearing hasn't changed. And it's frustrating, but it is what it is. Okay. And this is where so many women get lost. They try to fix the metabolism by tightening the food rules or doubling down on workouts or biohacking their way through hormone symptoms, but they're missing the foundation. Because metabolism isn't something you control with willpower. It's something your body recalibrates when the right conditions are in place. So when someone says just eat less and move more, it's not just unhelpful, it's completely disconnected from what's really going on inside a middle life body that's been adapting to stress for years. You don't need another surface level solution. What you need is to understand how these signals work, how insulin and inflammation and hormonal feedback loops all layer on top of each other, and how to start shifting that pattern in a way that actually works for you, not against you. That's the piece that most people never get. But once you understand why your metabolism hasn't adapted the way that, or has adapted, I should say, why it has adapted the way that it has, everything starts to make a little more sense. So, now that we've talked about how your body responds to the signals it's getting, let's kind of zoom in a little bit on what's actually triggering these signals in middle life, especially the ones that, you don't hear about. Because if you've been stuck in cycles of fatigue, weight gain, mystery symptoms that, again, don't line up with your labs, this might be why. Here's the thing most women don't realize until they're knee deep in symptoms, and that's your metabolism doesn't just change with age, it changes in response to, you know, a stacking of stressors. And midlife is when those stressors finally catch up to us. Okay. It's not a bad thing. Middle life isn't a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's been the best time of my life. But, we do have to acknowledge these things. So let's name a few of the big ones, right? Hormonal shifts. Estrogen and progesterone aren't just about your period. Okay. They're directly affect insulin sensitivity, fat storage, appetite, and even how your body uses energy. And as they decline, the hormonal balance that kept things humming along starts to tilt a little bit. And insulin often picks up the slack. And I'm saying that in a weird way, but it's still valid. But it means that insulin kind of starts running the show a little bit and not in a good way. Without estrogen's protective effects, insulin has a much louder metabolic voice. And it's one that favors storage over burning. So fat storage over burning. Okay. Another one is sleep changes. Trouble falling asleep, waking up in the middle of the night, feeling like your sleep isn't refreshing anymore. That's not just being older, okay? That's cortisol and melatonin dysregulation, and it plays directly into insulin resistance. Poor sleep increases appetite, increases cravings, blood sugar instability, and reduces your body's ability to recover. Okay. And as women, as our hormones are changing, as we're reaching middle life, our sleep categorically is disrupted. Another one is chronic stress, and not the kind that you can meditate away in 5 minutes. Wouldn't that be nice if all stress was like that? But I'm talking about the decades of overdoing, overgiving, overwriting. By the time most women hit their 40s and 50s, they've been living in a stress state for years. That constant drip of cortisol makes your cells more insulin resistant and tells your body to store fat, especially around the belly. Another one is nutrient depletion. You could be eating clean and still be somewhat undernourished because chronic stress, restrictive dieting, gut health changes, and poor absorption in middle life all combine to leave your cells starved out for raw materials that they need to function sometimes. And when nutrients like magnesium, chromium, omega-3s, when they're low, insulin signaling breaks down even faster. Then we have, toxic exposures. We just talked about this last episode, I believe. Endocrine disrupting chemicals, environmental pollutants, personal care products. These aren't fringe ideas anymore. They're documented contributors to hormonal disruption and insulin resistance. And if your detox pathways are sluggish, which many are by midlife, your body holds on to these chemicals even longer. And then there's perimenopause and menopause itself. This transition changes how your body stores fat, how it regulates blood sugar, how hungry you feel, how full you feel, and how well you bounce back from stress. It's not in your head, it's in your physiology. And all of these things, they're happening at the same time, right? That's why it's so easy to feel like your body is turned against you because the eat less, move more model doesn't even begin to touch what's actually happening underneath. But now that you know what's driving that shift, you can start getting curious about what your body's trying to tell you. So let's step back for a second. If any of this feels like a light bulb moment and you've been wondering why your body's not responding the way that it used to, this is the part that I really want you to hear. Your body isn't broken. It's responding exactly the way that it's been wired to in the context of stress, hormone shifts, nutrient depletion, toxic load, and decades of metabolic wear and tear. The symptoms that you're seeing, the belly fat, the crashes, the cravings, the stalled progress, those are the responses. And if that's true, then the answer isn't trying harder, it's working with your body instead of pushing against it. What most women need in middle life isn't more restriction per se, although that's kind of a gray area. It doesn't need more intensity necessarily or another 30-day fix. The body needs a framework, okay? Middle life women, myself included, need a framework that shows them how all the pieces connect, from insulin to hormones to gut health to recovery. A new map that actually makes sense of the chaos, right? And gives you the tools to support your body through it step by step. That's why I created my program called the Middle Life Metabolic Rebuild, which I'm not 100% certain on that name yet. I really like it, but we'll go with that for now. But it's designed for women who are done with the guesswork and ready to just understand. And it's not just information, it's a path forward. And I'm not talking about a meal plan and I'm not talking about an exercise guide, okay? It's not what's needed. I'll be talking about it over the next couple of weeks. So if what we talked about today resonated, and if you're nodding along thinking, yeah, that's me, then make sure that you're on the wait list to get more information about this, okay? Because everyone who joins the wait list will be offered this course for next to nothing in exchange for real feedback, by the way, but only if you're on the wait list. And I'll have a link in the show notes. So it doesn't cost you anything to get on the wait list. Just get on it. You'll get more information as the information comes out. And just remember, this isn't about managing symptoms anymore. It's about rebuilding your metabolism from the inside out, starting with the signals your body's already sending. So that's it for today's episode. If this helped connect some dots for you, if it made you pause and think, wait, that's what's been happening, then stay tuned because we are just getting started. In this series, we're pulling back the curtain on what's really going on with your metabolism in midlife, the stuff your doctor probably isn't explaining, but that your body is already feeling. And next time, we're going to go deeper into the hidden hormone shifts that make fat loss harder, energy inconsistent, cravings louder, and even all of this when your labs are all normal, right? So until then, take care of yourself, pay attention to those signals. Your body isn't fighting you, it's trying to get your attention. Okay. And if you want to be the first to know when enrollment opens for the Midlife Metabolic Rebuild, the link to the waitlist is in the show notes, and I'll see you next time.